Hi guys, Togo here with a new video, and this video will be a solo shuffle tier list video for 10.1 Dragonflight. We are season 2 and many people start to get like their tier 2, like 2 piece, 4 piece. I would even say a 4 piece is really rare, but some people do spend some money to get like a full boost on raids and such. Personally, I would not do that because I feel like you will spend too much money on it. But if you are like someone that is super rich and you want to have an advantage, you can always do that, I guess. And be incredibly lucky as well. We're going to try to keep that tier list quite fast and fast-paced and short, but always promise that, and at the end it is a 40-minute video, so I do not know how long it will be, but please do mind if you watch the whole video. You will see also the whole explanation behind the tier list and the specs where they are lying. I've added a new rank, like tier, I would say, because I felt like the S tier and the A plus and the A tier, they are very close to each other, but there is some differences between those tiers. So I would say S tier is really god tier, like it is really godly to play right now, and it is very strong. A plus is, they are very strong, very godly as well, but they have some things that are like, I would say, working against them to become a god tier spec. Like I can even spoil right now. For example, enhancement shaman, I think it would be a good A plus tier spec because it is very godly, like damage wise, healing wise. But I do still think they kind of die in stuns, and they don't really have that many defensives. Although they have like high healing and high damage throughput, I think they still have like some little things. A tier is like meta, so it means that you can play it and still climb with it, but it is not really god tier spec, right? It is just meta, it just works. B tier is like a good spec. It's like how things should be right now. If you are nerfing specs, it should be like around going around A and B tier, and if you want to buff some specs, they should not overshoot it and go to S tier. It should be around A tier or B tier. But again, metas are very difficult to actually adjust. Like there will always be a S tier and always be a D tier. There is no real balance in multiplayer games, right? Especially MMO PvP. And then you have C tier, which is underpowered, and D tier is completely bad, needs a rework, and F tier is like tanks. I'm not going to proceed and explain tanks because I don't think the social fault tanks has a place. Unfortunately, I'm a huge fan of like tank PvP, like for example in Warhammer Online or SWTOR, for example. They have like a specific duty. But I feel like tanks don't really have a duty in arenas in World of Warcraft. They don't really feel like they're going to add a duty for that. So I think 3v3. They should like have a 5v5 or a 6v6 game mode where you have like again flags, but on a smaller scale map where you could have a tank, for example. But right now you cannot really have that. Now let's talk about DKs. Frost DK, I still think they are in a very bad spot, especially in social, where a lot of things can just like ruin your setup, and it should be going like perfectly before you can actually do like a big one shot, and you're looking for that. Like it's a bit like the Devastation Evokers, really, and that's the issue behind Frost DKs. They really play around their Pelagos, and that's it. They don't really have any damage outside of that. They don't really have a redeeming factor outside of that. I do want to put them in D tier because I do want a rework for them. But I'm going to put it in C tier because there is like, again, a factor which is cheese. Again, it is cheesy whenever you can like put the triple blind into like the biggest obliterate spam ever. It is possible to win, but again, if you're facing like meaties in social, the likelihood of actually facing a disarm is very high. And yes, you can trinket disarm, but remember there's also fear stuns, and then you are going to Icebound Fortitude the stun, and then you're going to anti-fear the like Lichborn the fear, and then that's it. You have no defensives anymore. So again, high risk, high reward. Currently, it is high risk, low reward because again, multiple specs have multiple defensives where they can actually respond to that pillar. They just need to actually visualize it and actually understand what is going on the screen, right? Unholy TK, I think they kind of are cheesy as well. I think they're like more or less zombie spams specs right now. Basically, that's the only way where you can actually kill people reliably, I would say. Although reliably, if people are moving out, then you're not going to kill anyone, right? Or if you're playing versus healers that are actually like noticing those zones and they know when to press CDs, I mean, it becomes very hard. And they don't really have the throughput outside of that. I feel like DOS, they're not really hitting too much. I feel like Defcoil doesn't really hit too much. A score strike, all those things like are very much minimal. And even the pets, like they die too quickly because AoE again is unnerved in Dragonflight for some reason. So it means that if you're doing an AoE bleed on like as a feral druid, or you're doing like AoE damage with whatever spec you have, they're going to take full damage most likely, and they are dying pretty quickly as well. So like the abomination is dying very quickly, the gargoyle is dying very, very quickly. Often not in those games, I am even focusing the gargoyle so it's gone. So it's like a 3-minute CD gone in like 5 seconds. Good luck with that. So I feel like it's still B tier though. It is a good spec because you have some things that are redeemable, but they also need a rework. I think DKs as a whole, like they are like a misconception right now. If you're like looking at Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, Mist of Pandaria, you feel like they are regressing with the time. They're like, I feel like previous iterations were more fun to play and they were more rewarding to play as well. So that is a B tier spec right now. Demon Hunter, I think they are S tier. I kind of revised myself on the prediction. I think I put it like a lot lower than that. Also in 2s is a bit different. In 2s you have counterplay. In 3s, the AoE pressure that you have, the CDs that you have, especially in Soul Shuffle, it does count, and the damage is really unrelenting. They have ways to do damage, which is very noticeable, especially all those buffs that came after the season started, because again they are adjusting like the crit changes, right? It feels like the damage is even higher than previously. Maybe the hunt not, but I mean Chaos Strike is higher, Annihilation is higher, even Blade Dance at some points. So for me, S tier, really S tier. I think it's a very strong spec. They also mesh with so many specs that you don't really have like awkward comps. Like you can have the odd like double DH comps, but even then you can still win because you have CC for that, and you also have defensives for that. They do die. Let's be honest, they still die in stuns. But you have so many ways to actually like cheat death with glimpse, blur, darkness. Sometimes like a healing from something from your like set of skills that you have. You can even go like jump into the sky versus melees and they cannot hit you. So again, you have ways to actually like survive damage and be very useful. Balanced Druid, I think I'm also going to put it in S tier right now. The damage is very high. The CC changes are also very big, and what is actually very big is Cyclone not being really changed. I think is it deserved that Cyclone is not changed? I think it's deserved and undeserved. I think for Boomy with fast Cyclone, that it should be a bit lower duration, while for example Resto Druid can be that duration because they have to open up to Nature School and they don't really have a fast like casting Cyclone. But I feel like right now Boomies they are really strong because of that. They have like again a lot of peel for themselves, for their team, and they have a lot of damage. Again, they buffed like Goldrin, which is the second effect after Sorcerer, for example. Sometimes you have like a chance on effect to get a Goldrin, which is sometimes hitting or critting for the same amount of than a Sorceress, which again, if you do not understand how you died versus a Balanced Druid, most likely they critted both parts, the Star Surge and the Goldrin, and then you have also like all the dots rolling and such, and that is actually what is actually killing you. And again, it's also easy to kill someone whenever the healer is like root beamed and then cycloned, and then you have your teammates as well doing damage. It's very strong. They do die again. They don't really have the same defensive as before, like in Shadowlands. But I think in Soul Shuffle, damage is like everything. And CC, like, it comes like second, and then the third is like the defensives. If you have the damage and you have the CC, it's like plenty. And then you have the defensives, which are a bit lower, unfortunately for them. But again, the damage is very high. I reckon they will get nerfed eventually. I do not really want them to go back to D tier, but I think A+ or A tier, like with clear strengths, but also weaknesses. I think it's probably for the better. Feral Druid, I think it's going to be an A tier. My reasoning is they have high damage, but defensives are very, very low. In comparison with Balanced Druid, I think Feral Druids have with Balanced Druid, Feral Druids have even worse. I mean, they have like a 3-minute CD for a 6-second duration, which is a big wall, by the way, but like survival instincts. But it's still going to be very, very hard for them to actually win. I just think it's still good because they have a lot of great matchups and they have also a great association with a lot of specs, but they are still like very likely to get blown up in this particular meta where consistent damage is as high as ever actually, and burst is also very high, but you would say that consistent damage is so high that it looks like it is burst, and I think further they do suffer from it, although they also have the same kind of damage as them. So again, they can kill them like people from their own damage, but you have to understand that again, things like that in Socialful makes it very hard for them to actually deal. Especially Feral Druids in Socialful, casting a Cyclone is not as like intuitive. You can cast a Cyclone to get a Feral Frenzy for free because of like the PvP talent, but you cannot spam it as like in twos, where in twos you can really spam it. In Socialful, they are going to interrupt you because they are going for you anyways, right? You're going to be the target, and they're going to see the healer, and that is the most I would say annoying and hard aspect for it. Resto Druid, I think in Soul Shuffle they have a lot of like bad things going for them, because you have to choose between haste and mastery most likely, and if you want to have great throughput you have to go mastery, which is going to make it very difficult to actually cast a cyclone. But if you're going for haste, then you have better cyclones, but your throughput is going to suffer. So I'm going to put it in B tier because I do feel like they do have to heal like all the time to actually have some like ways to win. And I feel like the PvP talent, the Resin one, which is like silencing if someone dispels like 3 times in a row your dots, like your hots, that is not really a great talent in social, because people can just see, look, I have 2 stacks, I'm going to purge, and then I'm going to wait that it falls over, and then you can purge again. And if you're playing versus a double purge team, which is not that uncommon in social, it can feel like very terrible. And then you can play versus the odd great matchup, like for example Holy Paladin. I think Holy Paladin, they can suffer really hard versus the rest of the druids. They are going to be good, right? So I think it's very matchup dependent. I think it's a good spec. I think it's a lot better in twos though, but in three, like in social and threes, they do suffer for a lot of nerfs that they actually had in like season 1 Dragonflight. Devastation Evoker, I think it's C tier. It's like the same category as Frosty Gaze, which is cheesy. They can one shot, but outside of that, it is like meh. It's going to be overtaken by the third spec in 10.1, like in 10.1.5, which is augmentation. I think they look great in PTVR, and I think Devastation, you will not really have like a reason to play that. I do feel like they could just add those spells onto Devastation and Preservation instead of making like a third spec. It would like help them greatly, but I feel like right now you do again have the same issues like in season 1, which is basically having a empty spec with a not overloaded kit, but I would say like if they're going to one shot, they're going to one shot. If they're not going to one shot, then they're kind of useless. That's the kind of kit they have. So right now, C tier, same level as Frosty K, where they could like one shot people, but that's it. Like it's predictable as well. So you can also just like tell your healers, look, if you see like a flying deep breath and you see the one shot coming, please just use your CDs. Like don't be shy, because after that they're going to die. So that's pretty much how you have to communicate with them. Or if they know, then it's better, right? But still, Preservation Evoker, I think they are in the right spot. I don't really have a lot of difficulties versus them. It might be because I'm playing some specs that can actually like destroy them. I'm going to put it in A tier. I might change it up to A plus maybe. I don't think it's S tier though in social. They do suffer from a lot of things, which is dying. They also have not like again, it's now no secret. You can just kick them pretty safely and they cannot do anything. They're also highly likely to get purged, and they don't really have any purge protection like let's say a resto druid. And they do suffer very, very much because of it. So now we are with BM Hunter. BM Hunter is surprisingly still very strong. I think A plus because defensively we are still squishy. Although we do know iterations of BM Hunter being actually very strong, at least like damage wise, but defensively we knew already how squishy it can be because of previous expansions. I think Dragonflight did make you more defensively capable, but I would say in comparison with the S tiers, a bit less. And the CC got nerfed as well. The pet stun is now a lot shorter. The freezing trap is now like diamond freezing trap is I guess more useful now because of the CC changes. But in general, I think it's still a very solid class. I think if they get a buff, I don't think they will, but if they get a buff, they will easily go to S tier. They do mesh with a lot of specs. I think in solo shuffle it's still very, very strong, like a very much unavoidable, like the damage that you can get. The pets do die, but now you cannot really get kicked on your res. Of course, they can stun you, fear you, whatever, but they cannot really interrupt you anymore because it is now a physical spell. So you are pretty much like free to res it back. Although it's not ideal, still better than previous patch. Survival Hunter, I think it is clearly a 8 tier spec. I think the damage is very high. I think they didn't really lose anything going into Season 2, although the first was really strong in Season 1. I think in Season 2 it will be even stronger. I already saw a few 2 sets Survival Hunters, and it did really do a lot of difference, at least on the meters. I think in general it is a great spec, although very close to the B tier because it is a lot harder to play. But I think in max potential it can feel like it's very strong, while for example someone that is really new at survival will make it feel like it is a D tier spec, for example. MM Hunter, they did lose a lot of actual damage, in my opinion. They can one-tap people with sniper shot, like snipe shot and such, but I mean, they are like mobile without being mobile. Interruptible, it isn't really the case, but they can get stopped pretty quickly. I think it's also highly killable. I'm gonna put it in B tier. I think it's better than Frostykane, the Devastation Evoker, although a lot harder to pull off, in my opinion. Arcane Mage, I think it's a lot further to watch now. Whenever I'm watching like Venruki playing Arcane Mage, it does feel like smooth to play. But he is good on Arcane Mage, and while others are quite bad on it, for example, like in lower MMR lobbies, Arcane Mage gets stomped. While, for example, in higher MMR lobbies, I think Arcane Mages are quite good. CC feels bad, so do not really play for CC. I think you can play for the damage, but it is a lot less susceptible to one-shot like specs and classes comparison with Dragonflight Season 1. I think it's very close to B tier as well, so again, I might change it at the end. Fire Mage, it is easily, I think A plus. I think people are over exaggerating it, putting Fire Mage at S tier because of the damage. They do feel like glass cannons. If you do lay your hands on them, they are screwed. Also, they need to cost a lot more fireballs, which is highly kickable. So, of course, if you kick Fireball, you open yourself to a polymorph, but that is just the play of the game. If they polymorph and they're like kicked or interrupted or silenced on fire, it will do no damage afterwards. So, again, I think it's A+. I think it's a lot harder to play than many specs. Although the Ignite ruling is a bit like sus, I think it will get nerfed eventually, unfortunately. I think I really like that playstyle because it is like reminiscent of Cataclysm where you can roll dots and such. Although I would like to see like firebomb, time bomb, actually being something interesting to press, but right now it isn't the case. But right now, fire mages they feel S tier damage wise because you can get screwed by a fire mage. Again, I'm not going to say that, but I also saw a lot of fire mages get blown up, and I still think like defensively they are not as good, and CC wise they do have like one of the worst CCs in the game right now because of the CC changes. And I think right now A+ is a fair and square rank. I think Frost Mage is A tier. They do damage. They do a lot of damage. I think it's like one of the more easier specs to play once you know how to actually do your rotation and how to actually like do things. I think Frost Mage can do very well. I think it's a lot easier to play than Fire Mage and Arcane Mage, in my opinion. Whenever I'm playing Mage, I think Frost Mage is like the one spec that makes me feel quite alright. But that's it. I think they do have a lot of good pairings with classes, but whenever you are like in a melee lobby, it becomes very hard to actually do something. But fortunately, it is pretty much a custom meta in my opinion. So I think they do deserve the A tier. Mistweaver monks S tier. It is annoying to face a Mistweaver, annoying to face a custom Mistweaver, which is more prevalent right now. They have like team CCs and team CDs. They have also AoE leg sweep if they do manage to do that. They can also like become unkillable because of double port, and also like port while stunned. They have ways to be like very annoying and ways to be like unkillable and ways to actually make your team unkillable. So I think it's really deserving an S tier, and I would fight anyone in the comment section below if you actually think Mistweaver is any lower than that, because it is the most annoying healer to face and it's not fun. I think it's not fun. I think it's always like this with Mistweaver. Whenever Mistweaver is S tier, it is really not fun to play against one. Whenever Mistweavers are not S tier, then they're pretty much garbage. So that's the one issue with the spec. I think it's since Mist of Pandaria, it always was like this. So that's my opinion about Mistweavers. Windwalkers, they have one shots. I want to put it higher, but I'm going to put it in A tier for the same reason as Feral Druid. They do die quickly. And again, if you do die quickly, it doesn't matter how much damage you can pull off. Especially as a melee, because again, Balance Druid, they do die quickly as well, but they are ranged, they do a lot of instant damage, and they have some good CDs as well, but also fast clone, which is one of the easier defenses that you actually can do, because again, it's very hard to kick, but if they do not kick it and they try to kick it and you get precog, then it's GG's, right? I think Windwalkers, they are A tier because of defenses. I think CC wise, they're quite good. I think mobility wise, they're quite good, but the damage also is very high. That's why it's for me A tier, very close to A+. Don't get me wrong. If they get a buff on defensives, I think they might be higher, but I think that's not enough. So for me, A tier, very good meta spec. I think it's like better than For All the Road in my opinion. So I think it's a very good like standing. Holy Paladin, I think it's really. I think people will always fight on Holy Paladin being high or low. Depends about lobbies. If you're facing melees, Holy Paladin feels awesome because you have like double bop, you have like sack, you have like ways to actually be very effective. But whenever you're playing like versus a Shadow Priest or like any priest really with Mastery Spell, or a cast like for example Warlock, you feel powerless because Bob doesn't do anything. So that's the only thing I actually struggle whenever I'm like playing Holy Paladin myself, but also like rating it. I have to rate like pretty much on the same tier as Resto Druid. I think have incredible lobbies, but also very sad ones. And just because of that, I think they do deserve the B tier spot. Retribution Paladin, they are better in Soul Shuffle, that's for sure. I think they are not one-shotting anyone anymore. I think it's A tier meta. It is still very defensively capable, and they do lack now the higher crits, but I think that's all right, and I think that's fair as well. I think they are in an okay spot. I think it's really comp like or soul shuffle match dependent. That's the only issue I see for Retribution Paladin. Some like matches are going to be quite easy, and some matches are going to feel like, damn, why am I like waiting for 30 minutes for getting like a very bad lobby? Which I think every DPS actually like says that to themselves. But I think Retribution Paladin are one of them that really like struggle because of that. I think this freeze again, like I always mention, I think the throughput is not like exceptional, because that is not really the case about this priest. But this priest has a lot of great team utility, team CDs. They have some damage, still not very high though, because they like kind of budgeted. But they have like a lot of utilities, CDs, damage reduction CDs actually, which is actually one of the best things to actually press whenever high dampening is kicking in, because it is not affected by it. Like it can be like a 100% dampening, your pain suppression will always do 40%. Your barrier now buffed because of the latest patch without PvP taunt is going to be 50%. So that is not going to change, and that's something very powerful for a healer. Now, do they have bad lobbies? For sure, but the good thing is you have now 3 schools. You have Radiant School, which is with Radiance, you have Holy School, and you have Shadow School. So if you do get kicked, you still have many schools to press. I think it's one of the hardest healers to actually kick. You can kick an important penance, which obviously they only do Radiance afterwards, and Radiance is not like the most effective healing spell to do. It's still a spell to actually press for atonement and such. I'm thinking like mana wise and healing throughput wise, it is not the best thing. So you do open themselves to be but it's like easier to kick, like say a resto shaman whenever they cast, of course, or mistweaver whenever they cast, or whatever, than a disc priest. That's my opinion. Holy priest, I think the buffs were quite good. I'm going to put it in B tier still, because like throughput is not everything in social. I think that's why Holy Paladin can be higher depending on like matchups, because they have quite great CDs to press. And I think Holy Priest has a bit less of those CDs, especially because it's tied to throughput. And if throughput is low because of dampening or whatever, it is going to be a very low win chance. I think there is a statistic, if I can find it, I will do it in the comments. But the longer the match goes from solo shuffle, like for example, if it's a 3-minute match or a 4-minute round or whatever, the likelier it is to for the Holy Priest to actually lose. So Holy Priest has a high win rate on, let's say, the fast-paced matches, and they have a very low win rate on the longer matches. If I can find it, I will post it. I thought, like, again, I saw it on Reddit or something like that. It was actually impressive to see, because Holy Priests do have a lot of like issues with dampening. I think dampening is one of those things that affects Holy Priest the most, I think, in my opinion. Mistweaver, they do get affected, but they have also some great team defensive CDs to press. While, for example, Holy Priest, they have like very single target-ish CDs to press, and it is always tied to throughput. It's always like augmenting your throughput, while dampening just nullifies it. So B tier for me. It could be lower, but I think B tier is fair. Shadow Priest, I think it's really strong, guys. I think people are like sleeping on it. I think the damage is very nice on Void Torrent. I think you're kind of forced to go on the Shadow Priest, which opens up a lot of specs being like a lot stronger. If I'm playing with a Shadow Priest with my Fury Warrior, I'm pressing Death Wish. I don't care, because I know they're going to go on the Shadow Priest. I'm going to press Death Wish 5 times and then like wreck someone. It's degenerate, but it works, and Shadow Priest kind of enables that. I think any other caster kind of really doesn't really give you that guaranteed, but a Shadow Priest that is like open up free casting, that's their dream, right? Doing a full Void Torrent, full max PI, and with any modifier, it is going to be massive. I think Shadow Priest for me, I know it's controversial. Again, you can fight me on it. I think it's A+. And I know that the feel of playing a Shadow Priest is bad, but they have CC, they have the damage, they have actually defensives. They are actually kind of hard to kill. often, actually always, because they have a lot of like great CDs to press, and they are low like seconds and like duration and whatever. They have not that much of a downtime, I would say, and they are maybe not mobile. They are highly targetable, but I think it's one of those specs where you do actually want to get targeted because you will have PvP downs that can reduce your void eruptions and such. So you have ways to do even more damage. But again, you do need a great healer. Don't get me wrong, if your healer sucks, you're going to have a bad time. If your second DPS sucks, you're going to have a bad time. But if everything is aligned and your MMR is going to be higher, your Shadow Priest will actually enjoy their games a bit more, in my opinion. Assassination Rogue. Oh, controversial. I think it's going to be C tier for me. I don't really value Assassination Rogue that much because of the actual races like dwarves and iron, like dark iron dwarves. They have ways to actually remove your burst, and yes, you can reapply it, but and yes, not everyone is like a dwarf or dark iron dwarf, but that's not only it. Like Evoker can also remove a lot of things. I think you get nullified by a lot of specs currently, and I don't think the CDs are matching with the reality of the spec itself. Also, I think the season 2 tier set is a bit less stronger than the season 1. I think season 1 was busted, and that's why they got changed multiple times. And I think Assassination Rogue, they lack something. They lack something extra. So for me, C tier. D tier, Outlaw Rogue, I don't care. Do I need to even say? I think it's a whole rework that actually needs to be done. I think it's not doing any damage. It doesn't feel like a complete spec to me. So for me, it's going to be a D tier spec. I'm very sorry about Outlaw, but I think healers are actually hitting harder than Outlaw Rogues, in my opinion. I think Trimas, I think as someone that is actually playing Outlaw Rogue most of the time, he detests how it is actually right now. So I think there is a reason why, because the damage is really low. I think there is something wrong with the spec, and everything from season 2 actually just makes it worse. Crit changes. They actually built crit. They built crit in season 1, so it's actually like very bad. CC changes, blind, stun, whatever. Everything is going to be worse. So I think Outlaw Rogues are really the loser spec for Dragonflight Season 2. I think DKs as a whole, and then Outlaw Rogue. Subtlety Rogue, I think it's S tier, a lot of damage, hard to pull off. Again, I'm not going to judge like the worst ones, but I think a great Subtlety Rogue is going to destroy the lobby because of the damage. The CC, again, Cheap Shot is so bad to actually trinket, but now you have to actually trinket it. I think the duration is just too high, and the cost is way too high to actually like ignore it. And also, I don't think like kidney shot is actually killing me. I think most of the time it's like the triple cheap shot DRs that actually kills me. So, Subtlety Rogue, like damage wise, eviscerate very high, secret technique very high. I think they just like a spec that kind of needs also a rework. Like everything is like backloaded, like on eviscerates and secret technique, and you don't really have anything front loaded, and that makes it a bit like bad, I guess. Like whatever I'm telling, like speaking about it, like again, backstab and such are really just there to press for combos. You're not doing anything for it, like damage wise. I think eviscerate's doing a lot of damage is quite nice. I like it. I think they just need something to actually like be enjoyable to play, even whenever you don't have the CDs. I mean, that's my opinion, of course. You can maybe love it as a Subtlety Rogue, but I think play wise, I'm not really a fan. But damage wise, very fan, very strong. Elemental Shaman. Now, I think it's better. I think it's worse than season 1 because season 1 it was actually very strong. I'm going to put in A tier. I think it's definitely as strong or even stronger than Frost Mage. I think Shadow Priest is just better, just overall. I think Elemental Shaman has a lot of great pairings though in Solo Shuffle. I think there are also a lot of ways to actually pop someone, like destroy someone. There are also a lot of ways to actually sabotage themselves. So I think A tier is a fair spot. Enhancement Shaman, A+, like I said. Very strong spec. I really love it. I think that's probably the sole reason why I'm still playing Dragonflight right now. I think it's very fun to play Enhancement Shaman. I can't wait for 4-set as well. I just feel like I hope we don't get nerfed on damage, because that's the only thing that we have, and healing also. Defensively, we're not that good. Like C-wise, we only have Hex. The stun totem is really not worth to press. You have utility, you have a lot of ways to actually like be supportish, I would say, towards your team. But I think it's also very fun to play whenever it pops off. Like again, it's a very RNG spec. Sometimes no luck is for you, and your damage will be meh. But if you get like chain procs of Ascendance with deeply rooted elements, it does feel like you're like a Thor kind of class, right? You're going to destroy people with lightning, and that's quite fun to play. So we will have to see if it's going to stay like this. I like A+. I think people putting in S tier do not really like compare with the S tier specs, because S tier specs often not have like quite no weaknesses. Well, for example, in Enhancement Shaman, if you do see Doomwinds, just disarm it. It's a 1.5 minute CD. You will always have a disarm for it normally, and also the duration is very like low. So whenever you disarm it, they don't have like a Doomwinds at all. That's the main thing. So I think Enhancement Shaman very strong, but weaknesses. Resto Shaman, I think it's better than Resto Druid. I think it's on the same level as Preservation. The changes of Season 2 kind of affected them. They do have great comps and great matchups, so that's the good thing about Resto Shaman. But again, the same issues as Holy Priest. The longer the matches goes, the worse it becomes for Restoration Shaman. So the good thing is you can really participate with a lot of damage. Lava Burst is actually hitting like a truck for Resto Shamans, for example. So you should still play Resto Shaman. I think it's still meta. I think it's better than like half of the healing specs, but yeah, I think it's just a bit worse than 10.7 at least. Affliction Warlock. I'm not going to jump on the hype train. I think it's purely because of the PvP talent that you can actually like, the observer talent that you can actually like fight. But people now realize that you can kill it or you can line it. So for me, it's going to be a B tier spec. I think it's good. I think the playstyle is bad, but it is what it is though. Again, it's melee ranged healer, so it's not making like Affliction Warlock worse than Unholy Decay. It just is how I rate the specs. I think Affliction Warlock is in need of a rework as well. I think a lot of specs do need a rework. I would like just a backpedal for previous expansions. I think previous expansions, like for example Cataclysm, made Affliction Warlock a lot further to play. Now, that's my opinion in PvP. I think in raids maybe they like that playstyle, or in Mythic Plus they like that playstyle. I prefer when DOS actually hurted the most, like whenever you applied it. And right now you actually press these and drain life or whatever to actually do a lot of damage. So I don't know. I don't really rate Affliction Warlock that high, because I do feel like it's super trainable as well. Just people now has to realize that they can like kill the observer, and that's it, right? Demonology Warlock, I think it's S tier. One of the specs that are very annoying to kill. The pets are actually surviving a lot too. They have CC that is quite hard to actually avoid. It's also very hard to actually notice. I think the damage is still very high, and there's not really a counterplay to it. I think yes, they have to now cast dogs, but it's probably for the better. I think now they have like actual pain points. But in this current meta, I think Demonology Warlock is just one of those specs that are very annoying to deal with. I think Destruction Warlock is the same. They have a lot of instants. They have 3 schools of spells. They're very hard to kick, and whenever you don't like succeed on your kick, you get precogs and then you see like 3 kills bolts flying onto you, and like doing 160k is not a rare thing as a destruction warlock. And with this current health pools, it just means that you get one tapped. So destruction warlock, very strong. I think it's still the strongest caster of the game. I think they are really strong, and it's very hard to actually nerf it without destroying it. And I think they will get destroyed very soon, because I think like warlocks, like especially destruction warlock being very strong, is something that I don't think Blizzard really wants, and that's why they keep it like nerfed multiple expansions and seasons. But right now it has been a long time that destruction warlock actually was bad, so I think they are going to get hit by the nerf bat very soon, and I'm actually afraid for you guys. Arms warriors, I think they are A+. They're still very strong, but it's because the force that is not like something that is going to be very occurring right now. Like, it doesn't occur that much. And Fury Warrior are going to be, for me, 8. Yeah, they're going to be meta. Right now it is like this, but once 4 set is going to be live for Fury Warriors and Arms Warriors and like everyone, I think Fury is going to overtake Arms. I think it's going to be very strong. I think it's going to get nerfed, but it's going to be probably S tier. It's going to be strong. You're going to see it. Made a video about it as well. I made also a guide about it, so if you want to check that out, you can also check that out. I think warriors are always going to be very useful. I think it always depends on the comps and the matches as well. But I think they have utility, they have the damage, they have the CC, they have the defensives. They have ways to actually survive, they have ways to sustain themselves, they have ways to actually crush the enemy. Its MS effect is still very strong, although very nerfed. Or Sharpened Blade, I think in general, it's a great class. Like Arms, very good. Fury Warrior, very good. And that is pretty much my tier list for Soul Shuffle. Please, again, watch the whole video if you didn't. If you like clicked on the end, please do watch the whole video if you want to check that the explanation. Don't type, oh my god, why is Fire Mage A+? Please do listen. Then you can understand my reasoning, and then you don't really have the annoyance of seeing something that you really do not really want, right? So hopefully you enjoyed that video. Please be sure to stay safe. We'll catch you very soon in the next video. Have a good day. Bye.